have two apple trees. One makes hideous green apples, the other makes delicious red apples. So for 6 years I've been grafting from the red apple tree onto the green apple tree, and now the green apple tree makes almost exclusively red apples. I prune the red apple tree and then snip the last 10 to 12 inches of twigs off the pruned branches to use for grafting stock. I don't want to make scions from parts of the branch that have spurs. I want to look for tiny leaf buds that lay flat against the twig. That makes the best grafting stock. When I have a dozen or so twigs in one bucket, my tools in another bucket, and my grafting saw under my arm, I'm ready to climb the tree and get grafting. I'm going to graft onto this twig. It's coming off on a fairly healthy looking branch. I'm going to start by cutting that branch off as square as I can using the fine teeth of my pruning saw. I'm going to support it with my thumb and move very gently, because I don't want to damage the bark around the cut. Most of the way through, so I'm going to turn the saw over and back cut, again supporting the saw. I want to split it right across the center of the stump. I'm going to put 2 scions in, one on each side of the split. I don't want to run the split all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to place the knife right across the center. Apply gentle pressure and rock gently. And I've gotten it split down about an inch, maybe a little bit more. I can flex that open easily. Then I prepare the scions. And I'm going to choose a section where I can find a leaf bud, which might be hard to see, but there's one right there that the rest of the branch curves toward. The leaf bud is going to go on the outside, and with the branch curving toward it, it'll curve away from the other scion that's going to go on the other side of the split. So I cut it, I turn it over and support the branch on the opposite side of from where I'm going to make the cut, and I start with just one big long stroke to get rid of the part of the branch that I'm not going to use. Then I'll flip it over and make another stroke, and these first strokes are just to get rid of the bark on opposite sides of the leaf bud. What I'm trying to do is make a wedge that starts at the bud and goes toward the bottom of the branch. Now I've got the wedge well established, so I want to take off stock that I don't need. Since my cut or split in the branch that I'm grafting into is only about an inch long, this only needs to be maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch from the top of the scion, or where the leaf bud is, down to the tip, where this whole thing should come to a point. I'm just going to clean up that end. I tend to make them a little thinner on the inside, so that's the back side away from the bud. And then I jam that down into the graft. And to do it, I slip the point of the knife in to the split I already made and flex it open, and then I can pretty much just set that in. I might have to push to work it down into the crack, and I want the bark on that scion to be absolutely flush with the bark of the on both sides of the split, and the leaf bud is just above the top. It could actually go down inside a little bit. That would be okay too. I'm going to cut a second one. That one came off a little abruptly, so I don't have much to work with here. Again, I made a wedge. It's thinner on the inside. I've left the leaf bud intact. Unfortunately, that bends back toward the other scion a little bit. And they actually want to cross each other once they're in the... which I found isn't a horrible problem, because once one or both of them are established, I'm going to just choose one and cut the other one off. So they cross now. Not ideal, but I can feel that I've got the bark flush on both scions. And I finish it by wrapping it to protect it from the elements. They make a rubberized tape that you can use for this. I've never had any luck with it. So I just use cotton twine. I cut about 3 feet of twine, and I start by tying a clove hitch at the bottom of the split that I made in the branch. You don't have to go below the bottom, I just want it to be at the bottom. Pull it tight and then wrap it. All I'm trying to do is make each wrap, each successive wrap, touch the wrap before it. And I go to the top of the rootstock, but I don't want to wrap out onto the scions themselves where they protrude above the cut. And then I'll finish by looping the rope over itself, or the twine over itself, and pulling it tight. Tidy up, just cutting off the ends of the twine that don't need to be there. Tree coat, tree wound dressing. It's water-based, so you can thin it out with water if it thickens up in the container. It's got a brush on the lid, and just cover the wrap completely. Doesn't matter if you slop it onto the branch. And then you also cover over the top of the wound. Some of that might work its way down into the split, but that's okay. It might heal into the graft eventually. But that's going to keep it protected while it gets established. I found that grafts tend to wake up a little slower than the rest of the tree, and the first part of a graft that usually starts growing is the terminal leaf bud. So I'll come out as the tree gets growing, as the leaves start to burst out. I'll come and inspect every 5 or 6 days, once a week, and hope that I see new growth coming out of the tops here. After a month after the tree is growing strong, if there's no growth coming out of the grafts, chances are there won't be by the end of the season. If there is growth, these things will start to plump up just like any other twig on the tree, and it's important to remove the wrapping probably 4 to 6 weeks into the growing season.